On today's show, we'll talk about shooting while weightless, working with John Cassavetes, Apocalypse Now, Apollo 13, The Blues Brothers, and of course, watching Orson Welles direct in his robe and slippers. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out the breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, the musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Be Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. My name is Dave Comites and I'm your host, and we're here yet again from Panavision Woodland Hills because in the theater because it sounds better than the garden in the backyard. I'm really excited today to have a great guest, David Nowell, who has worked on just an unbelievable number of movies. According to IMDb, 230 credits so far, including 2 Emmys in 1982 and 1984 for David Copperfield specials. For anyone who's a little younger, David Copperfield was, or maybe still is, this magician who made big things disappear, so I'm assuming had something to do with that. Some of the movies, and I'm going to read off more than I usually do because, as I looked down, it was like every movie I saw as a kid. Capricorn 1, The China Syndrome, Apocalypse Now, The Blues Brothers, Blue Thunder, Star Trek 3, Howard the Duck, because you can't not mention Howard the Duck, Thelma and Louise, Outbreak, Apollo 13, Heat, The Rock, Air Force One, The Perfect Storm, Pirates of the Caribbeans, because there were many of them, Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, because I have to mention that, Argo, many Jurassics, many Hunger Games, Extraction 2, the list goes on and on. David, thank you very much for being here.
Yes, nice to be here.
Yeah. So am I right? Was David Copperfield, did he make something big disappear?
Well, in the 82 version, he made a Learjet disappear.
Okay.
And so we did a lot of air-to-air with our camera Lear with him and another Learjet. They put him up in the, I think it was the left front seat, and we started in tight. You could see this is David. He waves to the camera. We pull back, and then the Lear peels off, and stuff like that opened the show.
Yeah.
But the whole gag was that he was going to make this Learjet disappear, which they did at Van Nuys Airport, not too far from here.
Do you get to see how it's done, or is it?
I know how it was done.
Okay.
I wasn't there on the day that they
Okay.
did that.
I won't
that
ask
stuff.
you here because that's
But
proprietary.
I don't know. It's been so long. I don't know if there's any NDB or anything out there or NDA.
So how'd you get into the business? When did you start?
I struggled like most of us from the time I got out of LMU. I came out of there what they called the communications art department and stuff. It was before they started their film and television department that they have now. They actually started it the year after I graduated. So
Did you grow up in California?
yes.
Oh,
yes,
wow. You're
born and
one of
raised
the
here.
one of the few who's
Yep.
born and raised. Wow.
And tried for a number of years to get into the business any way that I could. And of course, back then, almost everything was in the union. There's very little non-union stuff. So I was getting the stories of, well, to get in, you need to put 30 days in on a union show, and then you'll be eligible to join the union. Well, how do I get on the union show? Well, you have to be in the union. So
And you basically had to be in someone's family, pretty much,
that
right?
too, nepotism or somebody that could get you in was the other way. My best friend from high school, Rich Carell, his brother Charlie Carell, at the time was an assistant cameraman. Charlie later on became quite a big DP and stuff. So I was bugging Charlie, can you do anything to help me? He was on staff at Universal. No, I can't even get you onto the lot, all that kind of stuff. And but he calls up one day and he says, look, don't tell anybody, but we're going to do this non-union show. And a friend of mine, DP, is moving up to DP, and it's his first ground thing. And he says, I'll be the first AC, and I'll teach you how to be the second AC.
Oh, wow.
So it was great. So Rex Metz was the DP. Now, Rex at the time, and this is 72, was probably the biggest known aerial cinematographer.
Oh,
around.
so his first ground thing, mean like his first sort of narrative,
Exactly.
normal,
His first
quote,
first
unquote.
unit
Yes.
job as a
Gotcha.
ground first unit DP
Okay.
type of thing.
When was this? What year?
72, it had to have been early March, April, something like that.
So
of
if he was an
72.
aerial guy, he's flying around in helicopters with like a handheld camera, or
Well, back
is there...
then it was either, well, actually back then it was just the Tyler camera systems.
Just the- okay.
Tyler had started developing his side mount, I think, in 65-ish.
And
so.
that I never dealt with that at all. Obviously, you were sitting outside with like a
Your
mount?
legs were outside the
Your
door.
legs
And
were outside.
basically, it was a certain frame. You took the seats out, the frame went in, bolted to the seats from that part of it. Then there was like a gimbaled arm,
Okay,
kind of like if you took a Steadicam arm and turned it horizontal.
that's what I was going to ask. So
type
it's
of
sort of
thing.
Steadicam-esque in the sense, that,
Exactly.
but it's attached
so
to the
you've got a
helicopter.
camera at the
Yeah.
time. They would use a Mitchell Mark II, 400-foot mag, because the 1,000-foot mag just wouldn't fit in there. Lots of lead in the back to counterweight it, and it was all unlocked and gimbaled, and that's
Yeah.
where you got some of your stabilization. So most of the different helicopters, you took the door off, put a windshield on, you sat in the seat, and your legs were outside, and
Wow.
usually on a foot peg of some sort.
Yeah.
That's what Rex used to do, and he was well known for it. Had done a lot of films, but he wanted to get away from the aerials and be a regular DP,
Regular,
as they
yeah.
say. So we start the show, and so Charlie has given me a little roll of film and showed me how to load an Airy 2C. Gives me the black bag. I take it home. I practice with my eyes closed. The old joke of the guy's changing the film with his eyes closed, but it's in the light.
But it's out in the light.
So how to do it in the bag, how to do camera reports, how to do the slate, all that kind of stuff. So we work for a week, and then Rex gets fired.
Oh no.
Well, what was going on was when we'd go to see dailies, it's the first time I'd ever seen 35 millimeter dailies, because anything I had done in working with my friend Rich, 16 millimeter cameras, Super 8s, that was it. But 35, and this stuff looks amazing on screen.
Yeah.
Well, everybody was giving Rex accolades on how great the movie looked and everything, but the director kind of got pissed off the fact that nobody was telling him what a good job he was doing as a director. So he fires Rex, and then Rex says, "Well, you guys can stay." And we went, "Well, we're not going to stay." And of course, I didn't know anything about
So
it.
wait, so now the first AC who you knew has been fired. The DP has been fired.
DP's been fired. Charlie's going to go, and I'm going. I don't know anything about this business. I've been in the business for nothing more than about 5 days. so kind of end of story. A number of months later, I get a phone call. It's one of those things where I just happened to be home. We didn't have cells. We didn't have even recorders and
Answering
stuff,
machines, yeah.
answer machines,
Yeah.
anything like that. Happened to be, and it was a guy named Bob Netman. Netman and his partner John Carroll were starting Continental Camera Systems.
Oh.
They became the competitor to Tyler, to the Tyler Camera Systems. They were going to build their own helicopter mount. Bob had been the chief engineer with Tyler, decided to do something on his own. They put together some money. They were going to do this. He says, I was talking with Rex because he knew Rex through the Tyler Camera Systems, and said, I need somebody that can work for us, wants to learn, but we have no money. So Rex goes, well, I just met this kid. He's just trying to get into the business. He's not in the union, so give him a call. And I happened to be there for the call. And that's really what got it started. I worked for Continental Camera for, I think, 4 months for free.
That's
Just
amazing. Just
basically
doing whatever
to
they
learn
needed.
how.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
how
you're on the ground floor, so that's
exactly,
yeah.
literally on the ground floor.
And I don't know. So did Continental become were they giving Tyler a run for their money?
They gave Tyler a
Yeah.
real big run for
Okay.
their money in the 70s. And it got to the point where about 75% of the work was probably being done by the Continental mount.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Not
Okay.
me, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mount itself. It got very popular. I think it was because it added things to it that Tyler hadn't done, that people had wanted. It was, the newness to it, all this kind of stuff. So
Yep.
that's how I got started, as I would go out with the DPs, show them how it worked,
Okay.
set it up for them, sit back, let them do it.
Yeah.
Helicopter comes back at the end of the day, and I take it back.
Yeah.
And it was based out at Van Nuys Airport at the time. So that was my introduction to that side of it, and the aerials and everything and stuff. So I kind of bounced back and forth for the rest of 72 of working for them, trying to get a few jobs. Charlie would call me up, hey, we got another non-union thing that Rex is doing, a few days on that or a few weeks type of thing. And then in, I guess it was Well, that's right. It was the day after Thanksgiving on November '72, because I always remember it was that Friday.
Okay.
And we went to work. Charlie called me up. He says, "I'm going to DP this thing." Charlie had moved to an operator, but he said, "I get the chance to DP this movie. It's John Cassavetes' new movie and stuff, and I'll teach you how to be the first AC on it." Okay. So we go in for just Friday because it was Thanksgiving. Friday we went in, more of an introduction with John and everybody else, and the weekend off, and then we officially kind of started the next Monday.
So basically, he was going to teach you how to be a first AC in a day.
Exactly. So I had to learn how to thread and work the Mitchell camera, because we had a Mitchell, the old BNCR, in the blimp and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So you learn how to do that quite rapidly on the old giant steel whorl heads,
Yep.
things like that. Well, about 4 days into production the next week, Charlie gets production gets a call from the union, and they tell Cassavetes, they said, "Charlie Carell's in the union. You're a non-union show. We're going to fine him $500 a day for every day that he continues to work on your show, and he's going to be, in big trouble."
Yeah.
So Charlie goes, "John, I'm sorry, I can't do it." So he has to leave. Now, he was brought in because they had fired the DP that had come out of AFI that had been there for a couple weeks prior to that, some unknown kid named Caleb Deschanel.
Oh my God.
So I never met Caleb on that because he was gone.
I
Charlie
wonder
came
whatever
in.
happened to him.
Yeah, exactly. So then who had been a grip on the show was Mike Ferris. Mike had wanted to be in the camera part of the things. He had something going on with Caleb. That Caleb had his own crew, and Mike couldn't get in. So anyway, Mike and I took over. John said, "I'm not going to hire another DP. You guys are now the DP." So knowing nothing about how to really make a movie,
Oh my gosh.
other than threading the camera and stuff, suddenly we're thrust into operating the cameras and lighting.
And basically, you just figured it
Yeah,
out.
I mean, all we did was
what
basically
movie was
get
this?
enough light up to get
Yeah.
an exposure.
What movie was this?
A Woman Under the Influence.
Wow.
So we worked on that for the next 3 months.
And at that time, was Cassavetes like a known?
No, because John was well known as an actor, certainly. But he had done a number of movies at that point.
Yeah.
Friends. I'm trying to think of all the different ones that he had done by that point.
Yeah,
that,
but so he was established, in other words.
very,
This was-
very much established
Ah,
and
well.
stuff. And it was funny because we talked to John. He became a good friend. He was a terrific guy. We loved him. And he gave us all the opportunities in the world to do this stuff.
That's
and
amazing.
everything. But he would act and make money and then put the money into a movie and
Yeah.
stuff, and then run out of money, and then he would act and get money and he'd put it back in. But that's he always did that. Orson Welles used to do that and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Did you shoot other stuff for Cassavetes down
no, because after we finished that in early '73, I got into the union in '74. His next movie was The Killing of a Chinese Bookie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was after I had gotten in, and I went to see John about doing the show when I found out he was doing it and stuff. And he wouldn't hire me because I was now in the union. Because I'm not going through that thing again that happened with Charlie. So I was kind of out.
Oh, well.
We stayed friends, but we hardly saw each other much. We worked a little bit on Elaine May's Mikey and Nikki.
Oh, my
She needed
gosh.
some help on that. So John came in to kind of do a second unit to direct. He brought Mike and I in as the camera crew. So we did a little bit there. But that was the last time.
Is Elaine May as funny as I want her to be?
I never met her.
Oh.
It was all, we were just working for John. He was
Oh,
just doing
I
the second
see.
unit
Okay.
type of thing for
Gotcha.
Elaine, because either a schedule, I
Yeah,
can't remember,
I
this is
gotcha.
back in
Okay,
'73,
okay, yeah.
either scheduling or something, she couldn't be there. He needed to help.
So you basically, I mean, would you call yourself the director of photography on that movie, or you were the co-director
He
of
gave us
photography?
he
or
gave us
something?
credits as operators.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
and I think that was that was the point when I knew that I wanted to operate the camera more than anything.
Were you operating on that?
Yes, that
Yeah.
was the thing. Is during that time I'm the AC. I had to learn how to pull focus. And there was no such thing as marks other than taping off the room.
Or
because
monitors, right?
There was no monitors,
yeah.
no video playback or of any kind. But you couldn't even tape off and put marks on the room because John let the actors go and do anything they wanted to.
Yeah.
So take one to take two, they might be in a completely different place in the set.
Yeah.
So I got really good at pulling focus, and that was the thing. Is John would usually operate because he says, "I can't not have you next to me pulling focus on this thing."
I got you.
But eventually he started giving me stuff to
Yeah.
to operate, and that's where I had to learn how to operate the wheels on the
Wow.
whirl head.
Yep.
But that was as soon as I had my eye to the eyepiece and realized what it was like to actually control the image that was going on to film, not as a DP and lighting, but more of like I'm controlling what you see and what is going to go on film and stuff. And I fell in love with that. And that was, I always remember that was the kind of the light bulb that went on. Because up to that point, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to be in camera, if I wanted to be in the movies.
Wow.
But that's what kind of sealed it there.
So what did you do after that? Because whatever it was had to be a step down or back or something.
Well,
like
you know,
that.
we did that thing with the Elaine May deal. Then Mike Ferris, that we'd become good friends, called me up and he goes, I'm working on this picture in Carefree, Arizona. It's Orson Welles' movie, The Other Side of the Wind.
Oh, my gosh.
They had been doing that since 71.
Yeah.
Same thing. Orson would do something, make money, put it into the picture. So they fly me out to Arizona.
As an operator or as an assistant?
As an assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, they were shooting 16 millimeter, but when we had been doing Cassavetes' movie, they would bring in this cameraman named Gary Graver. Gary had been friends with Mike from having worked on The Other Side of the Wind, so I met Gary. So Gary was happy to have me come in. Mike had me come in. And so I ended up being the assistant with Orson.
Wow. What was he like?
Really interesting gentleman. I have this story that people have heard that they all like and stuff, that we're doing John's movie. Everybody called him John. Nobody called him Mr. Cassavetes.
Okay.
John. Go on to Orson's thing. I'm there. We're figuring things out. I've got my 16 camera that I'm supposed to be working with Orson. He hasn't come out yet, but everybody's basically referring to him as Orson. When he comes out, everybody talks to him, Orson, Orson. So I'm next to him. He's got the camera. I said, now, Orson, what do you want me to do on focus here, to be on this person or that person? And he lowers the camera slowly, and he looks at me, and he goes, young man, we've never been introduced, and my name is Mr. Welles. And I went, okay, well, Mr. Welles, my name is David Nowell. It's nice to meet you. Now, what would you like me to do? From that time on, I don't know whether it's because it didn't faze me, I wasn't scared of him, or whatever was going on. He wouldn't do anything unless I was there. I was his assistant now, and if I was, and it was a little crew, so if somebody needed help on lighting or something else, we all would. So if I wasn't by the camera, because we were ready to go, but I was helping somebody else, he was, where's David? Where's David? Well, come on, we're not doing it. Where's David? You know, type of thing. So that was nice, but it was interesting watching him work, because he would he had. John Huston is there playing the old-time director.
Oh, my gosh.
It was before they brought in his good friend, who just passed away recently.
Houston's good friend or
Orson's good friend. He was a young director at the time. Geez, why have I just blanked out on his name? He was an up-and-coming young director, but he plays a young and up-and-coming, director as the actor in that thing. He's got Mercedes McCambridge there. He's got Edmund O'Brien there. He's got Greg Sierra there. He's got an old-time director, Norman Foster, who was the father of a guy I went to high school with. So he's got all these people. So they would rehearse the scene, and he would have all the actors around him in a semicircle, and they would go through all the scene and the parts and everything. And then Orson would kind of stop and, oh, I guess we need to shoot this. He was having so much fun just having the actors there. It's like a stage play.
I was going to say, it's like a play,
You know,
right?
he would rather have them doing their scenes with him. And it was like, oh, that's right, we've got to actually put this on film and stuff. But
Wow.
that's one thing I took away with it, how much he loved the acting aspect of it and the directing aspect of it for him.
Yeah. And I'm always interested when I hear stuff like this is, I mean, people think of Orson Welles as this directing genius, right? This filmmaking genius.
Yeah.
Did it seem like that?
Well, yeah, again,
I mean,
Gary was the DP, but a lot of times Orson would light the set, and he had a pretty
Really?
damn good eye. Yeah.
So he really knew his stuff.
Yeah, he would sit back and light things the way that he wanted it, and yeah.
That's amazing.
But mainly it was watching him work with the actors. That was his world.
That was
really.
it?
Yeah.
Well, and was he a collaborator, or was it sort of, this is my vision, make my,
I can't, back then, I actually don't, it's a
Peter
good,
Bogdanovich.
It was Peter Bogdanovich, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
By the way, that's an amazing cast. I mean, it just goes on and on. But I guess when you're Orson Welles and you say, I want you in my movie, you...
Yeah, and this is 73.
Yeah.
So they're all kind of still there, but coming off of careers
Sure.
from the 30s and 40s
But still,
and 50s
he's
and
Orson
stuff.
Welles. And just so I know, is this Orson Welles like I remember, like in the commercials, Orson Welles, like he's a big, imposing guy?
He's a very big man. Yeah. His nickname was Big O. So, but yes, a very large individual and stuff.
Wow.
And we were shooting the movie in the house that he was living in So he would basically just come out in his robe and slippers, sit down in the big lounge chair we had. I would hand him a camera, and
Oh my gosh.
away we'd go and stuff like that. So yeah,
That's fantastic. That makes me so happy to hear. That's a kind of like I would never would have thought of that, but I don't know. That just seems so perfect.
Yeah.
And how long were you on that movie for?
that was only for a few weeks.
Okay.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, shoot until you
still.
run out of money, and then any time that they went back, I was either busy.
Sure.
I never went back on the show and stuff. And again, everything that we did with Rich Little went, out
Yeah,
the window, and
yeah.
they reshot it all with Bogdanovich.
Wow, that's incredible. So it must have been shortly after that you went to the Philippines to do Apocalypse Now.
That was, let's see, we were prepping for it in late '75.
Uh-huh.
So I'd gotten into the union. Continental got the contract to supply the helicopter mounts. We supplied 2 mounts, one that would fit in a Jet Ranger helicopter, which was the standard camera ship of the day, and the other one had a different type of frame, but that could go into the Huey helicopter, which is
Yeah.
the main hero of the movie. And so we got everything together. Then we never met Vittorio up until that point, but they'd sent over a whole bunch of different lenses, 2 zoom lenses and a set of primes that
This
were
is
in this.
Vittorio Storaro, the DP.
Right, because he's the DP, but he had a deal with the gentleman that was Techno. Was it Technovision? Not Technovision.
Some sort
guess-
of lenses, though.
I guess it was Technovision.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Technovision Rome. They were their own version of anamorphics. So
Okay.
it wasn't anything like Panavision. It was their own version. They had taken Cooks and anamorphized them for the zooms. The primes were all different. Nothing matched.
Which, of course, you have to like wait all these out for the.
Well, we pretty much planned that for
Helicopter?
for the helicopter mounts, we would use the zoom lenses and stuff,
Okay.
and that was it. So
Yeah.
they were the Cooks that were converted on 2Cs back then. Or no, yeah, there were 2Cs on that one. We didn't have the Area 3s hadn't come out yet, and we didn't need the BLs or anything. They were shooting the main film on BLs. But we didn't need them for sound or anything. And then
Gotcha.
I had another mount that went under the belly of the helicopter. For that is where we used the prime lenses and stuff. So that's why I had a set of primes. But I remember checking those out here, and you look through them and stuff, and there's dirt and everything inside. And the outside part, the iris rings, the focus rings and stuff don't match. I mean, they're in different positions, lens to lens, not like Panavision where everything matches.
Oh,
So
I see what you're
a
saying.
focus
Just,
thing
you're
would-
saying physically.
yeah, physically,
yeah.
nothing. You couldn't line up one and then expect the second lens to line up again. But from what we were doing, it was going to be fine.
Yeah.
So we go, and we get there. I guess it was in March of '76,
Yeah.
and then so we spent 4 weeks in Manila prepping for this thing. They gave me my own 5-ton truck. They said, "Here's your aerial truck. Nothing's in it. Absolutely nothing. Here's your crew over here, carpenters. They'll build you whatever you want." So I designed a dark room, all the shelves to keep everything, special drawers with padding in it where I can keep the camera and lens already built all the time, so I could just
Basically,
put it
had
in
them
there.
build you a camera truck. Yeah.
Oh, that thing, all out of teak and mahogany.
Oh my, because that's what's available.
It was
Yeah.
exactly that. To them, that was just
Oh my God.
going and getting
That's
the regular
unbelievable.
stuff.
It must have been beautiful.
It was a beautiful truck. The only problem is that this wood outgassed whatever was in this wood and
Oh,
stuff.
geez.
We didn't know it until the first time we got inside of the dark room and stuff and closed the door.
It just
And
suffocating?
all of a sudden, your eyes would start tearing and everything. So
Oh,
it took
wow.
quite a while for this thing literally to air out.
You're just talking about the natural oils and stuff.
I
that
guess
are there.
whatever
Yeah.
it was in this wood and stuff, whether it was treated with something or the natural oils.
Wow.
And man, it was tough until we aired the whole thing out. So then it travels over to the other side of the island in a little fishing village called Balair, where they built the sets. And the truck gets there. We fly the helicopters over, and that's where we spent the next 6 weeks blowing everything up.
And
so-
I mean, you obviously did like the Flight of the Valkyries sequence
yeah.
and all that.
That shot of the reel-to-reel tape deck is actually me. I did that shot.
Really?
There's one thing I can say on that. Well, they gave us the tape deck, and it was a reel-to-reel deck,
Yeah.
but it was 110 volts AC.
Uh-huh.
And the helicopters could put out, had an outlet for it and an actual plug, and it said 110, but it was DC. So eventually, once we figured out that we needed a converter and stuff, we could actually run that. And we hooked it up to the speakers, and we could actually run the tape and stuff.
Wow.
So we could actually play it. while we were doing that stuff.
Well, were you playing the music while you were shooting that
for
stuff?
the fun of it, we did.
That's
yeah.
great. Wow.
It wasn't always on if they were shooting on the ground. But
I'm always interested in people who. I mean, that's an iconic sequence. I mean, if there is an iconic sequence, that's definitely one of them. I'm always interested in. I mean, in knowing what you were shooting, and obviously you shoot pieces and whatever. Did you ever have any idea what it was going to be? What it was going to be? I mean,
no. I mean, everybody was getting sick. I got sick at one point.
Just dysentery, or
yeah, exactly. It was some strange parasite that would get in you, type of thing. It was kind of not fun working there, hot and humid. The place that we were staying didn't have hot water, so it was like cold showers, which people would say, well, wasn't that okay? No, I don't care how hot and sweaty you are.
Freezing showers are tough. For a moment, it's okay. And then,
but and I say that reel-to-reel shot is my shot because I was the AC on the show.
Yeah.
So I came in with all this equipment. I had the 2 helicopter mounts, the belly mount. We also brought in the Astrovision periscope system that normally goes in the Learjet, but we had modified Francis's personal airplane with a hole in the floor to put the periscope in.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to operate that later because the DP on the show was David Butler, and our aerial coordinator was David Jones. So we had 3 Davids that were doing just the aerial unit and stuff. So I was assigned to do anything that was involving inside the Huey helicopters. So any of that stuff other than the actors was anything that I got assigned to do. Butler was inside the Jet Ranger and did all the other stuff. So all the iconic shots of the Huey's coming in over the surf and everything, that's David shooting that with David Jones flying it. Yeah. And then the stuff with the Francis's MU-2, which is the plane that we modified, was when the airplanes come in. They're actually F-5s from the Philippines Blue Diamond aerial team, but they're the ones that came in with the napalm, and they blow up the. And
it's real napalm, right? Or
no, that was all. That was I think the first time that they'd figured out it was. It wasn't John Fraser, who we work with all the time now. Again, it was A.D. Flowers was one of the special effects guys, and I've forgotten the other, Joe Lombardi. Yeah. They figured out that they were PVC pipes, 1/4 mile long, filled with gasoline. And they lit these things off, and that's what created that.
Oh, I see. Okay. So they weren't actually dropping something.
They actually dropped tanks, but they were empty.
And then it came from the ground.
Then the big wide shot.
I guess I guess I might have said it wrong. It wasn't actually napalm, but they really burned that stuff up, and I mean it was unbelievable.
They lit it off. It looked just like napalm. We did the lead in of the things coming in. You see them drop the tanks, but that was different cut. Yeah. And that whole sequence leads into Duvall coming out going, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Unbelievable.
It smells like
Now I mean you can only do that once probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many? So you're shooting with three helicopters, or
at any one time we just had 2 helicopters.
2 helicopters.
We had David Butler in the Jet Ranger, me in a Huey. Yeah. Because then later on we would put the belly mount on the Jet Ranger, put a camera there, and special effects gave us Roman candles, literally attached to the skid tubes. So the attack that's coming in like a POV of the village, and you see the rockets actually passing the camera.
Those are
Roman candles passing the camera. Because if you really look close, they go shh, and they kind of slow down and go. We overtake the.
I'll have to look at that.
But they timed it with explosions on the ground where they're blowing the shacks up, and so.
I mean, the coordination of that must have been absolutely wild.
Yeah, it was pretty good. The thing is that I remember sitting back. Now here I've only been in the industry for less than 4 years, mostly aerials by this point. Yeah. So we get there, and we're working with Francis, and we're working with Vittorio Storaro and his operator Enrique, and. But unlike now, where you could be doing something, and like I've done with Michael Bay and stuff, I go, Michael, I can't keep the insert car out of the shot. In the shot you asked me, he goes, don't worry about it. We'll dot it out later. Yeah. Well, back then, it's like we'd get up in the air and we'd come back down and say, Francis, we see everything. We see all the white trucks. We see you guys standing there. Yeah. We see the camera crews and stuff. And they go, well, don't worry about it because the ground's got to shoot at the same time you're shooting. And going, but they're going to see us. Yeah. Now, the Huey, you can't quite tell. The Jet Ranger was painted OD green, kind of as if it were a military ship, but it's got a guy hanging out the side of it, stuff like that. So we would do that for a while, and then, the operators on the ground and going, we can't keep these guys out of the shot. We're going, we can't keep you out of the shot. And it was kind of funny or amazing to me back then, not knowing that much, going, can't these guys figure this out? Can't, you know, I mean, this is Francis Coppola, this is Vittoria's, can't they figure this out? And they eventually did. Eventually they would pull everything out. We would do all of our shots from the air. Then once that was finished, they'd pull the crew in, and then they'd do their stuff on the ground.
It's possible from everything we know now about them, maybe they were just so overwhelmed with everything that certain parts of your brain shut down.
I think they were.
They're two smart guys. I mean, they're surrounded by other smart guys. So you worked a fair amount with Coppola and Storaro. Then you were involved with them.
We were working alongside, side by side with First Unit. They were there every day. So were we. The interesting thing was when we would shoot, of course, 35 film, it was 52, 54 was the only stock that Kodak had at the time.
Really?
And so we'd finish shooting. We would shoot the 400 footers every day, and Enrique would come by. They would pick it up because Francis was flying back to Manila every night.
Okay.
And we're going, why don't you just stay here? It's a half-hour flight in his airplane, but it's half hour there and half hour the next morning, because they were sending the film into Manila. Yeah. The film would get shipped to Rome, processed at Technicolor Rome, because Vittorio had his
people,
friends or his people or whatever was going on there, develop it, print it, get it back. By the time we'd see dailies, it was 2 weeks later.
2 weeks.
Because all the customs and this to get it out, customs to get it back, all that kind of stuff. It was 2 weeks before we'd see this stuff. But the reason he was going back to Manila every night, we found out, is that he was cutting together Godfather 1 and 2, because they were going to, I think it was ABC was going to air it as one
long movie,
over whatever it was, 3 nights or something like that. So he was cutting this together because they were paying him, we heard, $7 million for the rights to show this thing. Well, he needed the money. UA was putting up the money for this, but back then they were saying we were spending $100,000 a day,
which is insane money back then.
Insane money back then.
So he's shooting Apocalypse Now during the day and editing Godfather and Godfather 2 at night.
Right.
Re-editing, I should say.
Yeah, putting them together.
That's incredible.
So it could be
what was he like to work with?
Good enough guy.
Yeah.
But kind of this thing of like the strain was, you never got kind of close to him and stuff. He sent me out one time. He said, "Get me shots over the shoulders of the 2 pilots in the Huey. Get different helmets and different scarves, as he had it, that they would be wearing." So it was a Philippine pilot, because they were the main pilots for the aircraft. The rest of them were just actors, and American actor on that. Get 3 sets, because there were 3 runs. There was one in over the water, there was one in over the river, and there was one over the palm trees.
Meaning what you're going to see out the front window.
Right. So, and every time you do a different run, if it's the one over the water, these 2 helmets, the 2 scarves.
Okay.
Same pilots, because I'm stuck in the same helicopter.
Yeah.
We're not changing that. Down the river, different helmets, different scarves over the. Great. So, get me some of this. Give me this footage. Okay. So off we go. Run it over the. I better do it a second time. So do a second one over the water. Change costumes over the river. Change costumes over the palm trees. Change costumes. 2 weeks later, they're seeing the dailies of that thing, but the room was crowded. Whatever it was, I wasn't inside. I was outside waiting, and Coppola comes out and he reams me up one side and down the other about, don't I know what you blink I'm doing, in shooting. Why did you shoot all that footage and stuff? Well, he had forgotten what he had asked me to do, for one.
This is 2 weeks ago.
It's 2 weeks
and
later.
It's probably something of like.
And he thinks he's seen 600 feet, because I remember shooting a mag and a half over everything of the same thing. He's not realizing he's seen 2 different helmets, 2 different scarves,
because he's
3
forgotten he's
different
asked you
runs
that.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
He thinks he shot 600 feet of the exact same thing.
Exactly. So
again, overwhelmed. I mean, there's no anybody
up
reads
one
about
side
it knows.
and so then David Jones and David Butler come out. I'm going, what did I do wrong? And they go, don't worry about it. He'll by tomorrow he'll have forgotten the whole thing. What you did was exactly right. What you did exactly what you were supposed to do. It looked great. No problem. Don't worry about it.
That's very funny.
But there was so we were there at April at one point, and Easter Sunday comes up. So they give everybody 4 days off. Take a 4-day Easter vacation off. Well, he had left the helicopter for us, and so we had the use of the helicopter every Sunday, because we worked Monday through Saturdays and stuff. He never used it. So now we have the helicopter and fuel that we can get anywhere we want to.
Wow.
With David Jones, David Butler, his girlfriend, and myself, the 4 of us fit in the helicopter, and we would load up food and I'd made a makeshift shade. We'd land at different beaches and have lunch and go snorkeling. We're flying all over the place. We went back to Manila and landed in one of the sets. It's the one that later on became the one where the Playboy bunnies come into.
Yep. Okay.
And so nobody was there. The set was built, and it was a fully functioning set. So they had fresh water that they had pumped out of a well. The water got pumped up to black tanks that were above the showers and stuff, so you had hot water at the end of the day. You could walk over to a hotel that was nearby, and anybody working on the crew was an open bar type of thing. You get meals, sign for it, stuff like that. So we were gone for 4 days. So we come back, and we would always have a meeting with Francis every morning about what it was he wanted to do for the day. And we come back, and his beard's gone. He's shaved the beard off. He's nicked himself all over. He's got tissue paper stuck to his face everywhere. We're kind of wondering what's going on. And he says, he goes, it has nothing to do with his talent. He goes, but Harvey Keitel, I've let Harvey go. And because Harvey was originally the actor playing the part of Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen, right?
Yeah.
But did they shoot a lot with him?
A fair amount.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Fair amount stuff. So he's gone, and he says Martin Sheen's going to come in and take his place, but Marty's not going to come in for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to do other stuff that didn't involve them and stuff. Okay. And didn't hear for years what the reason was of why Francis had let him go. So years later, I'm working with Terry Leonard, who I had met on Apocalypse. He was the stunt coordinator on the show. We're now doing Flight of the Intruder. Terry's the second unit director, and I'm the DP for the second unit and aerial stuff with him. And we're sitting around on an aircraft carrier, and we're on the backside of the main tower of the aircraft carrier, nothing to do at the point, out of the wind and stuff. And anyway, he's got stories galore. And it comes up about this thing. And I've said, I've never heard the story of why he fired Harvey and stuff. And he goes, well, because you remember the river boats, the famous river boats and this stuff. They had two of them. One had an Oldsmobile engine in it, and one had a Chevrolet engine in it. Well, the Oldsmobile engine turned in one direction, the Chevy turned in the other direction. The jacuzzi jet pump only turned in one direction. So one of the engines wouldn't operate properly. Okay. On the jacuzzi. They didn't know that in the beginning. So I guess it was the Delta sequence, which we'd been out on. And then towards the end of the day, it's a wrap. Everybody rushes back to Manila. It was on that side of the island because of the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes would come out. So Harvey's on the boat. He's going to go back with the boat. And so everybody takes off back to Manila. Harvey doesn't show up for hours and stuff. The boat hasn't come back. So whether it was that jacuzzi thing, engine, whatever, the whole thing breaks down and stuff. So they go back out, they find it, they tow him back in. And I guess Harvey was stuck on the boat, mosquitoes, the whole bit. And he goes to Francis and stuff, and he mother F's him up one side and down the other of how dare he have left him on the boat.
Yeah.
Everybody left and all this kind of stuff. Probably rightly so, to give Francis a hard time about this. And Francis, well, okay. And then that's why Francis fires him.
That was it.
Yeah. And then,
wait, but what was with the beard? You said his beard.
He just for whatever reason.
Okay.
For whatever reason, like that. Again, the stress or whatever.
Yeah.
He decided to shave the beard off.
What now? Storaro was Storaro at that point? Like, was he well known?
I think he had already won the Academy Award for Reds.
Oh, could be. Yeah. Okay. So he was like a known entity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A good guy to work with.
Basically, just kind of, a nice enough guy.
Straightforward. Yeah.
Again, we were kind of working together, but yet separate.
Yeah.
So we didn't spend that much time with him during the day, other than the very beginning and the very end when they'd come by and pick the film up and go out.
How long were you in the Philippines shooting?
We were there for 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
So it was 4 weeks of prepping the show and then 6 weeks of blowing the village up.
What an incredible thing.
It was everything that was needed to blow it up, bring the boat in to get it to the river, and then the rest of the movie takes off from there.
But also, but what you were involved in is such an important part. I mean, that movie wouldn't be the same movie without those aerial sequences.
Yeah.
It sets everything up. So
we were originally supposed to be there for 6 months, but then after we finished that, they went, "No, that's it. You guys go home." And then the stuff that you see later on, that's actually the beginning of that sequence where they take off at sunrise and go.
Oh yeah,
that was all done later.
Oh, really?
Without us there, we never did that part.
Oh, okay. Just going back to flying around on the weekends, am I assuming that like you don't need any permits or any. You just fly where you want, touchdown where you want.
Back there, yeah.
There's nothing.
Because that was the thing. It was too far to get anywhere. It was like, I forgot, half a day's bus ride to try to get back to Manila. So there was no reason for us to get back there. So we'd just stay there and get food, and we'd landed. And that's what was the thing, is you'd fly jungle, nothing but jungle and beaches, not a soul anywhere. And we'd land on the beach.
Just pristine beaches with nobody there.
Pristine beaches and stuff, set up our little camp and everything, go snorkeling. And within a couple of hours or so, there'd be little Filipinos that were living somewhere in the jungle would come out that had never seen a white man, had never seen, of course, a helicopter.
Oh, that remote. Wow.
Yeah, they would just come out and go, and
could you communicate with them at all, or
no? They spoke just Tagalog.
Yeah,
they didn't speak English.
Wow.
The only thing they knew was "Hey Joe," was about all that they understood. That you're white, you must be American.
You must be American.
Hey Joe, type of thing.
Wow, what an experience! That's incredible.
It was. I mean, it was. We were really glad it was over. It was not that much fun. It's just one of those kind of shoots that just took a toll on everybody. Like I said, I got sick, and it stayed with me for a number of years, and same with other people and stuff. And then you get back, and you just have no idea what it is that Francis has done.
Did it blow you away when you saw it?
And then
that you
you
were
see
a
it
part
for
of
the
this?
first time. Yeah,
It's got to be
whatever it
unbelievable.
was, 78 and stuff. We get invited to the screening.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
this is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read the script before? Were you given
I had the script. Unfortunately, somebody took the script. When we sent everything back, I had the storyboards for the entire sequence, which I still have.
Oh wow!
I had the script, and by the time we got back, somebody had gone through it, and the script was gone.
Yeah.
But the script originally had the sequence with the French colonials that were there.
Which has since been cut back in and all that.
Which was not in the first version, because I remember seeing the thing. Well, where was that? I remember that in the script and stuff. We didn't know that it had been shot because we weren't there, and it wasn't in the movie.
Do you remember reading the script and thinking this was going to be an amazing movie, or did it read that way?
I don't think it did. It's one of those things we just didn't know.
That's why I always like to ask.
Nobody, I think, had any idea what it was going to be like,
including maybe him.
Yeah, it could be. But they had said a lot of this was based on the book A Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, I
remember buying that book, reading the book, going, you got to be kidding me. I don't see this being made into a movie at all. Exactly. Then we're there. Ellie Coppola, who unfortunately just passed away recently.
She was making a documentary, right?
She was doing the documentary that later on became
Heart of Darkness.
And so we would work with her because she's basically filming us as we're doing behind the scenes stuff, and they would send up her cameraman with us in the airplane. They didn't go up in the helicopters with us, just the airplane and stuff like that. But so we work with them, on and off.
That's amazing.
And then seeing the movie, I saw that later on when it came out.
I'm actually have to see it again and look for you. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to miss me, except that probably only I had long hair, almost down to the shoulders. I was wearing a flight suit because I'd gotten so badly sunburned and stuff that I was just covered myself up so I wouldn't get burned anymore. Yeah. Because I had sunburn, I itched like crazy, and I was doing it unconsciously. There's a scene where she's shooting, like where you are. She's shooting David Jones discussing with Francis what's going on with the aerial sequence, and I'm standing in between listening, scratching. like crazy because unconsciously didn't realize I was doing it.
I'm definitely going to look for this.
Until I see the movie and went, oh, jeez.
Yeah. Oh well, at least you know, right? Yeah. That's great. There's I did the first season of West Wing, and there's a picture from like People magazine or Us magazine that someone cut out at the time, and it's Tommy Shalami and Martin Sheen and I think Allison Janney, and in the background, you don't know it's me unless you know, but it's me, and I clearly have my Steadicam on, and because you hold onto the arm the way that it looks like I'm picking my nose, and I thought, this is great. And People magazine for the whole world. Of course, nobody else looks at it or sees it, but they see everybody else. What about the Blues Brothers? You do much on the Blues Brothers?
A little bit. We came in, I was working with my friend Rick Hawley at the time, who was the pilot that I did most of my work with, and same thing, a Jet Ranger, Continental mount, but we were going to shoot a bunch of VistaVision. They needed VistaVision plates along with some of the other stuff that
You're still assisting at this time?
No,
or
at this point, when did we do that?
Blues Brothers would have been like 1980, I would think.
Yeah, I'm trying to
79,
think. I think I'd officially moved up to operator, but by that point, even as an assistant, I was DPing everything that I did, type of thing. Yeah. So think I was officially an operator, but was DP in the aerial unit on that. So we were doing all these different things. They took us one time, they said, well, we got the big day tomorrow, what you guys need to shoot. Let's go out to the set where Landis is shooting and discuss with him what he wants and stuff. We get out there, whatever the scene is and stuff, cut, and he starts messing around with his girlfriend. John, they need to talk to you. Let's get ready to shoot again. Okay, roll it. So we sit, cut, starts messing around with his girlfriend again. Eventually they just said, we're never going to get his attention. So we never did talk to John about what to do. I don't think that's the only time I think I ever actually even saw John.
What did you end up shooting for the movie?
Well, we did plate shots for when the neo-Nazi guys go off the end of the bridge.
That's what I thought.
And they fly through the buildings, and the guy turns, he goes, I've always loved you.
I've always
and the thing
loved
goes down.
you.
Okay. So the plates for that we did on Vista.
Okay.
And but to get through the buildings, we had to cock the helicopter sideways, and so I could shoot straight ahead, essentially sideways, no problem.
Because you're shooting out the door.
But I've got to shoot out the door.
Where the door was.
So Rick says, okay, we're going to come down the river, and we would cut across Michigan Avenue, and he says, I'm going to pitch it sideways, and then we'll fly through the buildings and stuff. So I'd taken the windshield off again so it wouldn't be in my way, and I could get as much that way without him having to crab it as much as he did. And he went in there with so much speed and pitched this thing sideways, and I started to go out the door.
Oh, geez.
Now, I've got a harness on. I'm
Yeah.
not going anywhere, but I've never had that feeling before.
You're saying
And
just because you cut the turn
he
so
just
quickly.
threw it so far to the side
Wow.
that I was on the right side of the ship, so he pitched it left, and I'm starting to go out the door. So I let go of the camera and grabbed the pillar that's between the front and the back seat
To hold
and stuff.
yourself in. Yeah, just
Just
instinctively.
because I'm sitting there just scared the shit out of me. So Rick can see that, and he goes, what's going on? I said, hang on a second. Let me just reset myself here. So I said, I didn't get that. So we go back. I cinch the harness tighter. I get 1 foot inside so I can actually brace against this thing, and then we're fine. So we did that. So we get a straight ahead plate, and which they can reverse for that. We did it the other way. We did side plates and stuff like that. And then the sequence where the little orange car is actually falling.
Yeah.
We did, and if you look at it now, the stuff like there's buildings everywhere now, but it was empty lots there that led almost down to the pier.
Okay.
And it was right at the end of the river, empty lots, and so we dropped this real car. So they had a Sikorsky up with the car on it, and they devised a rig that the actual hook that lifted the entire weight of the car pulled up on bungee cords, but then went to a solid cable that was inside. And then they had these rubber flaps that were painted orange to match the car.
Okay.
So when they cut it loose and pickled it, the bungee cords pulled the
Inside,
the loop
sort
back
of.
down inside, and the rubber flaps closed, and it looked like the solid roof, because David Butler came in, and he's laying on his stomach and leaning out the door, and he's shooting straight down in this car. So the first shot you see is when the guy's going, I love you.
Yeah.
And it goes, you see this thing fall away, things close and stuff, so it looks perfect.
Yeah.
Starts to float down like a leaf, and then we're off, hovering off to the side, and I've got it up in the sky, and I'm going with it all the way to impact. But you go through the horizon, down through the buildings, all the way down, seeing it head towards the ground. And then, of course, we did shoot it to impact, and it just squashed that car down to nothing.
How far up did they drop it from?
It had to have been about 1,200 feet or something like
so
that.
that's significant. Yeah.
Whatever, like the Trump Towers there now, we were about up at
Oh my
that
gosh,
height when
that's
they let
incredible.
this thing go.
Wow.
And then, of course, the thing is, in the movie, it actually lands in the street.
Yeah.
And creates a hole and stuff like that. There were a couple of shots of, there's a famous street that goes through one of the buildings and then comes out the other side. We did some stuff there. Surprisingly, we were not involved in much of the chase sequences and stuff.
Well, that's what I couldn't remember, but now that you're saying it, it is sort of all down with the cars.
They'd actually
and whatnot.
done a lot of it, because we were hearing the stories of, like, we've destroyed 96 cars already, and
It sounds
all the
insane.
different stuff that they've done. But
So going back to what you were saying about you not falling out, but feeling like you were falling out. So when you do a shot like that, the G-forces on the camera must be unbelievable. Are you just
No, not really. It was just a matter of just transitioning from sideways to forward.
Yeah.
It's just, it was just going to throw me out type of thing if I
But
wasn't
the
holding on.
apparatus helps with
No.
the G-forces on the camera?
There's basically no
Really?
G's. in
That's
that.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just your momentum changes and stuff, but it's not putting undue, lateral loads on
Gotcha.
anything. It's not affecting the camera.
And what about you have your eye on the eyepiece?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're basically just holding it right in front of
I'm
you.
holding it. Yeah, it's almost like you're doing a handheld shot, but with special handles underneath.
Yeah.
And and you could kind of see, and you can feel what the helicopter's doing. So you can kind of see if the helicopter's going one way and you're trying to keep the horizon level. You know that you're going to start rotating the camera because it has tilt.
It does up.
Yaw, tilt, and a roll.
X,
yaw,
y,
tilt,
Y,
and
and Z
roll.
basically.
Axis
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
X, Y,
yeah.
Z on it.
Okay, so you can control. So do you have is there a level in the eyepiece, or you're just feeling it?
You're just watching horizon.
You're just watching horizon.
And the thing is that's the difficult part. If you're ever doing stuff looking down,
Yeah.
and you've got to go with something and tilt up,
You have
and
no.
and feel, are
Yeah.
you coming up level? Or
Well, because when you when you're pointing straight down,
Then
your X becomes you lose your
Right.
pan basically, essentially. Yeah.
I mean, with that, but it's also just the orientation of your head and mind and
Yes.
everything, and
Yeah.
your eyeballs and stuff, and what your inner ear's telling you and things like that. So that's the difficult part of like trying to come up off of something like that.
Does that sort of become second nature after a while?
After
you
a
just sort
while,
of
yeah.
follow your instincts, yeah.
yeah.
Because it's interesting as a Steadicam operator. Obviously, I think around horizon all the time. But the difference that I'm thinking is I know all the forces that I know the forces I'm putting into it, right? So I
Right.
know what to counteract. Whereas you've got suddenly this whole
Yeah,
other
it's,
thing
it's,
there.
it's a machine I'm attached to,
Yeah.
and you've got a pilot that's flying it. So
Exactly.
you just have to. It's a lot of it, like what you said. You just get used to it.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel what's going on.
Amazing. That's wild. What's you have a favorite shot that you've done, like or one or favorite movie?
Oh boy, that's the thing is when somebody asks me what's the favorite movie.
I know
most,
people do with me too. I'm like
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but
or one of them.
The one thing that really comes out
Yeah, what
that
sticks
was
out?
a lot of fun to work on, and it was a lot of kind of neat shots was the zero gravity stuff we did on Apollo 13.
I was going to ask you about that. So is that is that in the Vomit Comet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so can you explain the Vomit Comet to people who might not know what it
Right,
is? Because
so-
this fascinates me.
Yeah, basically the one we were in was the one that started the entire Mercury program. So this is back in the 50s that they devised this. It's a Boeing 707, but in military terms, it's a KC-135,
Okay.
which is an in-flight refueling system. But they've taken the boom off. It's just now a KC-135.
They've taken what's the boom?
The boom is what comes out the back that then
Oh.
the aircraft goes up to, and they
I got you.
stick this probe into the aircraft and
To
give it
refuel.
fuel.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
normally these things are empty,
Yeah.
but they have fuel tanks inside.
Yeah.
So now this thing has been gutted, and it's padded sidewalls and everything, incandescent lights in there with the grills on them to keep you from touching the light and burning the shit out of
Oh,
yourself.
sure.
Floor's padded, everything's padded inside. So this airplane will climb to 39,000 feet, and then on their command and whatever and stuff, they pitch the nose over and they basically go into a paraboloid arc heading about 30 degrees towards the ground. Now the pilots up in front usually have, some of them have different meters, some of them have something as simple as a nut on a string. Now when that nut starts to float, he's at the right angle that he's falling at the same rate as a falling object.
So he's going to keep it at that as long as
He's trying to keep it
yeah.
at that because you can over-rotate, you can under-rotate. And what you'll see is that nut will float forward or it'll float back. It's not just totally suspended in air with nothing happening.
I love the fact that it's a nut on a string.
It can be something
everything
as
that's
simple
the
as
best
that.
thing.
I've seen
but
it
so basically that pilot is just watching that and pulling back
He's
or
feeling
pushing.
it and he's watching that, so he can tell what he's doing.
Because
and
the
stuff.
pilot must also have a feeling of weightlessness
Oh,
as
absolutely.
well. So
yeah. They're strapped into the seat. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they would be
Yeah, yeah.
floating too.
That's amazing. And how long do you experience
So
weightlessness?
they push this thing over and
Yeah.
they go down to 29,000 feet. Now the nose keeps getting steeper and steeper because you're going after this falling object
Yeah.
until eventually they get to about 30 degrees down, and then they have to make a 2G pull-up. So the 2G pull-up does not exceed any stresses on the airframe. It can take 2Gs. Because they were explaining to us that this Boeing has followed this aircraft since it's been used for this in 1955 or whatever. And it's got some of the highest time flying of any Boeing 707 or KC-135
Wow.
type of thing because of these different extremes and stuff. Then they pull up at 29,000, climb back up,
Yeah.
and a 2G pull up to 39 and do it all over again.
And how long do you
you
experience
get
weightlessness?
23 seconds
23 seconds.
of totally zero gravity. But now they can do it for a longer time and give you 0.6 of a G, which is equivalent to what's on the moon.
Oh, wow.
So they can simulate different things, but if you want totally zero G, it's about 23 seconds
23
before they will yell out, the NASA people that were with us, 30-30 or 30 down, meaning you've gotten to that 30 degrees nose pitch over. We're about to pull up. So get ready, and anything you've got a hold of, you better get it down on the ground before this thing. And you've
so
got
you've got 23 seconds of weightlessness, but really you've got less because you've got to take 5 seconds or whatever.
Well, within that 23, you've got the 23, and then on the front side as it's starting, and on the back side, they're giving you time to
you've got a little bit.
Get down, get the camera put down type of thing, and then.
So I'm assuming this is a silly question, but I'm assuming it's essentially a handheld camera, right? It's not like you. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what we discovered on this whole thing. We really didn't know. Dean Cundy was the DP on the show, and he'd suggested maybe some kind of like a roll cage, if you will, around an Airy 3.
Yeah.
And we went, fine, what do we know?
Yeah.
So I ended up with 2 Airy 3s and 1 Panaflex. All the cameras, lenses, mags, everything that we needed for that. And everything strapped down. I had special handles that Panavision put on for me on the side so that I could actually strap the cases down, but the lids were free. So that even in any of these, even under zero Gs, you could get into the box and get something and stuff without, you didn't want the strap over the cases, which would be the normal way of strapping it down and trying to strap it down and still get to it and stuff.
Yeah.
So we start off with this. I think the first time up with Ron Howard, I said, Ron, can we just go through a couple of parabolas? Nobody's done this before. We have no idea what we're under.
So I was just going to ask you this. This is the first time this has ever been done for a film.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, because what we did is they built special sets. So the command module that the 3 guys are in, it was kind of like about a 3/4 size because we couldn't put the floor down. The rounded part of the actual command module wouldn't have fit on the floor because the floor is flat within the aircraft.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So the bottom part is chopped off, but the rest of it is pretty close to what the real thing is. The tunnel was there. Then on the other side of the tunnel was half of the lunar module, but not looking out the windows. They were going to do that somehow separately. So we just had it where they would enter into the LEM and
yeah, because so much of the stuff that you did was them floating from one to the other and down
that was part
corridor
of the deal,
there. Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Andy Ryan was the gaffer on it. He came up with special things and fiber optics, and we could drill holes in the set and put fiber optics through the light the guys, but you would think it was the light coming from the computer would be a green light, all this other kind of stuff. They had some neon lights in there, not neon, just regular fluorescence.
Yeah.
But that's what they had at the time in 1969. And then we had some open windows, and they wanted the idea that the ship was always in what they call a rotisserie. It was always in a 360-degree roll on the way to the moon.
Yeah.
That was to keep one side from getting hotter than the other or freezing and stuff. It was to keep it a constant temperature based on where the sun was. And so we had some ports up at top, which they really had, and Andy came up with the thing of a light into a mirror. So the mirror just constantly was turning. So we didn't have any moving lights because I only had this much room, about 8 inches, between the top of the set and the top of the airplane. So
you turned the light so it felt
So he just put a light on this mirror, and as the mirror turned, it shined the light. So that you'd see the light come down, and the light would come down, so it looked like a rotating source of light on that, which was Andy, came up with that thing.
So did Ron Howard let you guys do a couple parabolas before
So
shooting?
he did. So we've got the 3 actors. We've got Ron. Well, in the very beginning, we had Todd Hollowell, his producer, was with us. Then Ron came on. And then the camera crew is myself and another operator, Josh Bleibtrue, and 2 techs with us on that. Then they had hair and makeup, but they also had to be wardrobe. We had to have a minimum amount of people that could be up there,
but
they
that
had
seems
to do
like a lot of
multiple
people
jobs and stuff like
anyway.
that. And so that was the whole thing. Yeah, we did a couple of them. Zero gravity, no problem. Some people got sick for some reason. It really made them sick. Never bothered me.
Wow.
The 2G pull-up was a problem at first because we weren't used to it.
Yeah.
A couple of times I didn't quite get myself in a good spot, and I would get my leg trapped under myself, and I just couldn't stand
it's
up.
just crushing you. Yeah, you just got to hold on, basically.
Yeah,
right?
so I just sit and wait until we, pulled out at the top and went zero gravity.
I guess you
again.
learned that pretty quick. So first of all, are you getting into it? You're not getting into a seat. You're just holding on to. You're just holding on
we
to
flew up in seats. You start off, you take off in seats, regular seats that are way in the back.
Okay.
And then all of our equipment's on the sides and strapped down and stuff. So an open area, and then the sets.
Yeah.
and all the lighting, everything. And the lighting's done off the ship's power, all this kind of stuff. Everything is self-contained. All the sets are actually bolted and strapped down because they would float too.
Sure.
And then, once we got going and got used to the zero gravity, no problem. The Area 3s, okay. We're trying to figure out how we were going to look at them with video taps and stuff like that. Well, right off the bat, one of the Area 3s went down, and an Area 3 never goes down.
I know, right?
So I had to jump to the Panaflex as a backup and stuff, but everything is now incompatible. The mags aren't the same, so I've got having to use my own setup with that. Found that just by using that little L handle in the back that covers up the port in the back for backloading and stuff was enough to hold.
Because of zero gravity,
zero gravity. It weighs nothing.
That must have been unbelievable.
So, and then on that one we had we would just kind of fix focus in one position and stuff because the guys couldn't touch the camera. Yep. We ended up doing work for about a week or so, and then they had an issue with one of the engines, the engine pylon that secures the engine to the wing. They found a crack in it. And they said, no problem, this happens, we fix it and stuff. And they go, well, we'll just wait. And they said, no, you can't because there's another Canadian experiment coming in.
Someone's checked it out, yeah.
They're locked in on that time, so you can't wait. We can't push the schedule. You've got to go. So we come back. This time I've got 3 Panaflexes, so everything is the same. Forget the Area 3s. All video taps, everything works great. And everything is on wired fizzes.
Okay.
Basically, it's just for
the
focus and stuff. Yeah. But they didn't have wireless at the time, so we were wired. And that way, the assistant didn't have to touch the camera, but he could be right there and see what was going on. Sure. A lot of times, the guys would float above the set, watch what I was doing, and then pull focus and stuff.
The perfect vantage point. That's great.
And so we continued on with that. We just got used to what we would do if we had to change positions for shooting and stuff. We realized we don't need to move everything. So I wouldn't do it. We would lash batteries down to various shooting positions. And then so that way, if you were shooting here and you needed to move, you just unplugged and moved to the other position, plugged back in, you're ready to go.
Oh,
type
that's
of
smart.
thing.
Well, you were making it up as you went, right?
and then leads went to power leads and video leads went to each position and back to where they had monitors for Ron to watch both cameras and stuff. So again, you would just unplug the lead for power and for video, go to the next position, replug in, and he would be seeing what you were doing.
That's incredible. So how long does it take for them to get up to start the parabola?
Well, we take off from Ellington Air Force Base in Texas, and we fly out over the Gulf. And when they would get to that area, they had an actual corridor that they would do this in. So we would, you just, like a normal airplane, you would just cruise up to that 29,000 feet.
But I mean, so it takes 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, I think it was about 20 minutes to get there.
And then they get to the top of the arc, they go 23 seconds down. And then how long does it take to pull out of the 2Gs?
Yeah, seemed like to pull out and climb back up to 39,000 feet was maybe another half a minute, something like that.
And so how many of these parabolas are you doing?
Well, it would depend. I mean, now we've basically know kind of what we're doing.
Yeah. We
would have the meeting in the morning, and Ron would say, for this scene, it looks like it's going to take about X amount of time to do the scene, so we're going to do 5 parabolas, and we're going to do them nonstop. If anybody has a problem, speak up. Otherwise, we're going to just go. We're
one
just
after
going to,
the other.
Up, down, up, down, up, down.
So the 5
times.
parabolas takes you like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, something like that total.
It's incredible.
But it's nonstop, and the actors got used to get so far, stop the scene, wait, pull it, go up.
Yeah.
As soon as you'd go over again, pick the scene up at that point and stuff, and just proceed through. Because in the very beginning, we were noticing that, like Tom Hanks and Kevin Bacon and Bill Paxton, they were trying to do the scene very fast, and they were talking, and the lines were coming out like this. We're going, Ron, they don't need to talk that fast. Just because we have 23 seconds.
Yeah. But
23 seconds is a fair
sense.
amount of time when you sit there with the stopwatch.
No,
stuff.
absolutely. But
they were trying to rush it to fit it in, and so Ron came up with okay, we're going to do this scene in 3 or 4
up to this
parabolas.
line or whatever. Yeah.
Say it normal, and then wait, and we'll pick it up. And keep going.
And do you have your eye on the eyepiece for this, or are you looking at a video monitor?
Tap and a little monitor.
And then 23 seconds. What they have an alarm go off or something?
Well, then the NASA people that are with you, there's usually 2 people.
They call something out.
They can talk to the pilot. The pilot's telling them what's coming up.
Yeah.
And they would shout out because we were not on intercom.
That's
or
what I was
cans or
going to ask.
anything.
Okay.
He would just shout out, 30-30 or 30 down, depending on the guy. That's what their little catchphrase would be. And that was the only thing that my guys had put a pad on the bottom of the Panaflex and stuff. I would immediately grab it and push it to the floor
That's
and
what I was
hold
wondering.
it there.
And so if it's on the floor, it's not going anywhere because of the 2 Gs.
Because as soon as you went 2 Gs, that camera now weighs 40 pounds.
you could let go of it.
It's just going to sit there.
And then when you start coming out of it, then you got to just pick it up normally, right?
Then you can move around.
Wow.
But that 2 Gs took a while and stuff. And then we even got used to that, even to the point that we could pick up and stomp around at under 2 Gs and move things if we needed to.
Wow.
Because in the very beginning, it was like, oh my God,
just
I
pinned
pinned to
against
the wall, I can't move. and then you go, wait a second, you could move. And so,
Wow. What an experience. That's fantastic. So how many of these parabolas do you think you did? I mean,
565.
oh my gosh. Wow.
Our record was 55 in one flight.
55 in one flight.
And because we kept a record of this every time we did it, we usually 2 flights, a morning flight, afternoon flight, so that we could brief in the morning, do it, come back, debrief, and then brief for the next flight and stuff. Get something to eat, go back up if you felt you could keep your food down. We tried to do twice a day, but there were a couple of times in there where the flight was aborted for one reason or another. We didn't get anything in, or we went out, nothing happened. We came back 0. So we kept a thing on a big whiteboard, on this date, on this flight, and how many things that we did. So the 2 different times that we were there in October of one year and January the next year, just a couple of months later.
Sure.
And so we kept this running tally on it stuff. I have pictures of it because back then it wasn't like you could just take your phone and take a picture of it and stuff. So I actually took 35 film of it, so I would have a record of what we did.
Yeah.
But 565. We figured at that rate of 23 seconds per parabola, I think we did close to 90 minutes, I think it comes out to, which is what it took John Glenn, one orbit around the Earth was 90 minutes and stuff.
Puts it in perspective.
So we actually were in zero gravity for a total of almost one orbit of the Earth.
That's really incredible. And this is probably a silly question, but is zero gravity just unbelievably cool?
It's unbelievably cool. It's a really good description of it. Because to me, it was just like jumping in a pool and you're swimming, you're underwater and you're just floating around, and that's what it's like. You're just floating around, except that you aren't grabbing water and moving.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that was funny, is if there was any time, sometimes there would be, this shot just needs one camera. Oh, great, because now if we're not shooting, it's time to play. Type of thing. Or sometimes just goofing off, knowing that the shot was not critical, we'd start to go into zero gravity. And Scott Smith, who was my tech with me and stuff, I'd shove him. And now he's
until you make contact with something, you're going.
Nothing you can do until you get to a wall, or if you can grab a seat, or if something, you cannot stop yourself. So
I love the fact that in this like really expensive, really highly technical thing, everybody's still just the same sort of stupid people we are on set.
We had so much fun on that thing. It was a real ball.
That's great.
We had a great time on that.
The actors had a blast.
Actors were great. Yeah. Kevin didn't like it too much, but he got used to it. Bill Paxton, you couldn't stop him. He was having a ball, and he was thinking up things to do and to float and stuff.
That is
and
so great.
Tom was just the consummate professional, but he was having a good time.
He's an amazing guy.
He was having a blast on that too.
Briefly, but
the only thing is I think it was the very first flight we did something with him, and he's coming, and it's when they were doing the kind of the, hey, here's what we're doing. They're videotaping it and sending the thing back to Earth, and people are supposed to be watching this thing. And he's coming through the tunnel because he's coming from the command module into the lunar module and stuff. And I'm looking at him and stuff. I had to stop, and after that, and tell Ron, I said, Tom acts like he's scared to death. Because it was like one of our first flights and stuff. But I said, it looks like it on his face. Now, here's the guy that's Jim Lovell.
Yeah,
he's
not supposed to look
This is like
that
his
way.
third time up in space type of thing. So, he shouldn't look like that.
Yeah.
So that shot's in the movie. Nobody would ever notice it. I'm probably the only person that would look
but
at
you'll
that
never
and
not
go,
see it, probably, right?
type of thing and stuff. And so
Amazing.
talk to Tom, but of course he's Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. You know, it's
And
perfect.
just going back to you asking Ron Howard if you can do a couple parabolas beforehand, did they train you at all for this, or did they just explain it and
The
throw you up
only
in it
training we got is all of us as a crew had to go through hyperbaric chamber testing.
to make
And
sure?
that was as if you had blown out a window on the aircraft at altitude, what to do in an emergency
Wow.
type of thing of,
So what-
instant depressurization and type of thing.
What did you? What'd you have to do for that?
Well, we took us down to what used to be the Toro Marine Base.
Okay.
That was down near San Diego and stuff. They had the chamber there.
Yeah.
The base at that point had just been shut down, but some of it was still operational. It's a, what is it, 12 by 8 room or something like that, and big
Yeah.
giant steel room that they put you in, and they suck all the air out.
Oh my God.
So they basically simulate what it's like at different altitudes and stuff.
And you mean they give you a task to do? You have to do
Yeah,
something? Like
they-
you have to
they
open up a
could
hatch or
either-
something?
They have oxygen mask,
Yeah.
so you're on oxygen, and then they take you off the oxygen. And some things were like, write your name, just write your name, just repeatedly. And the guys are going, writing your name.
Yeah.
And then, then they're,
And then they trail off?
They can't even tell what
Oh
you're
my
doing. Or
God.
we tried to do patty cake and stuff, and I'm going, but it's hard enough to play patty cake with somebody that you don't know, even if you're not under all this,
That's true.
stress and stuff. But if they do instant depressurization, it's just bam, and all of a sudden everything goes. The moisture in the air, just like an instant cloud takes place and stuff. But
Really?
you immediately have to know where to get the oxygen,
The
and put the
oxygen,
oxygen
yeah.
mask back on. That was really the only testing,
Wow.
if you will, that we just had to go through that and be certified that we knew what to do in an emergency. But that was the thing, is nobody knew what it was going to be like to be in zero gravity, which was what was so funny, because then we realized, if somebody can't grab onto something and you give them a little shove, so
They're gonna
off
keep
goes
going.
your tech or off goes somebody else.
That's fantastic.
Or
I love that.
Smitty always had a good time of like slating, because we were running sync sound and stuff at the time, even though there was a lot of noise from the jet. But he'd slap the slate and then just put it here, and he would just let it
And
go.
let
and
it
it would
go?
just sit there and float, out of the scene. So if he needed it later, he'd say, 30-30, he'd grab it again and
Yep.
sit down.
What a blast! Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it was
incredible.
that's why somebody says, "What's your most memorable thing you've ever
How
worked
could it
on?"
not be?
This was for The Shining,
Yeah.
and they had contacted Continental Camera, and then they contacted me, and Stanley wanted to shoot the opening sequence of the film.
Is this after the movie's been done? Probably.
No.
No.
This is
Ahead of time.
before anything had really happened, I
Okay.
think, and stuff. So he was sending his brother-in-law is Jan Harlan. So Jan was in the States, and so we were going to work with him. Rick Hawley was still alive. We were going to go up there. I can't remember when The Shining was. So, but Stanley's favorite camera is the 2C, and his favorite lenses were the 16 and the 24 Distagon. So he said, I want you to shoot this with the 24 and 185. And it's the approach coming over the forest. You'll see the hotel in the background and stuff, and you'll see Mount Hood. And then come around the hotel, showing it off. And as you get to the backside, you'll see the forest that you just came from. And I think it's Mount Jefferson is another volcano that's south of there. And he goes, and do it at different times of the day, whatever looks good, but you guys do it at the different time of the day. And okay, so we do that. So now I've got to balance this camera out. Instead of having the 10-to-1 that I normally have, I've got this 24. Got to get everything balanced, less weight back here. No problem. You can do that, 400-foot loads. We go up there. We've got Jan with us. We're staying in the hotel itself. We've landed somewhere nearby. And so we start off in the morning doing these shots. But the thing is with the Jet Ranger, again, take the windshield off, trying to shoot a straight far forward stuff, but still we're kind of crabbing a little bit.
Yep.
It dips the blades down into the shot.
Ah.
Even with 185, I'm seeing the blades and stuff. But as we transition to around the hotel, then the blades tilt the other way. Now I'm clear as we pull away because the blades are lifted up.
Sure.
And I've got a clear shot at pulling away from it and stuff. So I think Stanley called during the day. He's in London.
Yeah.
He calls during the day, and I get on the phone with him, and I said, well, here's the thing. Is, as we're coming in, the blades are always in the shot. I cannot get rid of it, even out of the 185.
You're saying just because the helicopter has to tip
Helicopter
that
has
to go
to do
that
this to
direction.
go that direction.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's dip the blades down into the
Yep.
shot. And he said, don't worry about it. This is what I want. If I have to put in helicopter sounds, I will, but this is what I want. And I said, well, how about if I did it in reverse? If I'm on the backside, and coming around, you won't notice it as much because the way we're coming around and we're lifting the blades up out of the shot and pulling away,
They're
but
going
you
the other
reverse it
direction,
and stuff. No, because then I have to go into an intermediate neg and all this kind of stuff. I never did it, but I should have. And I used to do it on the Learjet stuff all the time for reverse shots that we would do where we would pass over a jet and we'd come over it and tilt down. The reverse looks like it came into a blind shot. Looked like I was an amazing operator tilting up with it, keeping it exactly in the center of frame. What I would have done is capped off the lens, capped off the eyepiece, run the film through till about 40 feet.
Oh, reverse
then with
it,
the
and then
2C, you just flip the switch on the thing.
Oh yeah.
Run it in reverse, shoot it in reverse and stuff. Then when you finish it, you've got to now back it back up and so that it goes into the lab as if it's
correctly.
as if you shot it. When they get it, they just make a print. They don't know, and when you project it, it's backwards, but you wouldn't know. Anyway, I didn't do it. I probably should have done it just after having done other stuff. Done that, he probably would have said, "How the hell did you do that?" Anyway. Then the movie comes out, and it's all this stuff that another friend of mine, Jim Freeman, actually did all this stuff with the belly mount on a jet, on a Jet Ranger, following the car and stuff. But as it gets to the hotel, it does cut to my shot, and you can see the blades in the shot if you look.
Okay, now I got to look for that again.
Yeah.
There you go. Lesson learned. So I have a question about Ambulance with Michael Bay. And I never saw the movie. I'm actually not. It's just not my kind of movie. But from what I understood about Ambulance, the big thing about that was they got some kid with the drone and the thing and whatever. So I was surprised to see your name on that. And the reason the larger question behind the question is, it seems like drones have sort of taken the place of a lot of these helicopter things. So what did they bring you in for there that they couldn't do with the drone?
Yeah, well, they have now. I mean, I never thought in the past 5-6 years that I would ever say it, that drones have taken over what we've been doing, but they have. We're just not doing the type of stuff, but a lot of it is basically the expense. Now, Michael's different. Michael is going to get exactly what he needs to get the shot that he needs, and I've worked on every one of his movies except for the very first one.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Only because it wasn't available at the time. They asked me to, but on the first Bad Boys, I wasn't available.
But so what did you do on Ambulance that they couldn't do with the drone?
Well, we were all over the place following the other helicopter. Well, a drone is fine if you're kind of getting a high, wide, and stupid shot of L.A. and maybe next to a building. There was a couple of pretty cool shots that it goes up the building. It was the old Metropolis building, and then turn and down and dive down and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
The guy that he had is like Michael was telling me is he's like a drone racer.
Yeah, that's exactly.
He flies with the virtual goggles on, so he doesn't.
Yep.
But the cameras attached. They were getting. That was when the was it the Komodo, I think.
Red Komodo,
had just come out, so it was a small camera. They could put it on this thing, but that's what the guy was seeing. But there's no gimbal. He's not trying to. Nobody's operating the gimbal, and he's flying the thing. He's flying the drone, and that is it.
The drone is basically operating the camera.
So that's the thing is why it's banking and yanking and up and all this stuff. So it's very effective for what Michael will use it for. And there was the one shot. I remember even seeing that when they had us at the screening of Ambulance and stuff, where it's down low and it's going through bits and pieces, and this I think it was a cop car hits something, jumps, and the camera goes right underneath the cop car, comes out the other side. And I went, Jesus, did they really do that, or is that something that they CG'd and stuff? And it turns out they really did it. They were just, Michael said, go for it. If we crashed the drone,
well, that's the thing is they're disposable now, almost, to an extent. Okay, so you're saying, but when you're doing like following another, because of the backwash from
the one ship says police on it, all black, and it's got a camera on the front. That's my camera. That was my shot over system. I'm in the ship on that. Then the other one was the black and white, and that's the one we're filming. Well, I've never see anybody do any air to air and stuff. A drone is like high, wide, and stupid, and that's about all you get.
I didn't think
you'll
about
see a high shot following a car on the road. End of story. You don't see the camera come down and push into the window or something like that, unless it's going to be one of these things where they transition to a stage shot. Then you might see the drone come down and just head towards it because they pick it up CG, but they're not trying to do it as a real shot.
Gotcha.
So the guy was very effective with what he did and how Michael used it. Michael, I think he just started to use drones on Transformers. I think it was 4. I think it was the first one with Mark Wahlberg. He was just starting to use drones on that. But again, we're going up with F-15s I had the Lear there. I'm doing stuff with F-15s and
Sure.
F-16s where they're coming in and all this stuff.
You're not
I had the
doing-
helicopter there, and we're doing this, and it's like you got to now follow the Blackhawks to the next location, get some stuff on the way. There's no way you can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
with the
No,
drone.
I hadn't thought about that. That makes perfect sense.
You know, the drone is like, pick up and
Yeah.
drive a couple of miles to get to your next location, set up, and you'll do a drone that's within that
Yep.
that area. Now I'm seeing some stuff. What was just on the air the other day was that NASCAR race that was in Chicago.
Okay.
They had somebody there flying a drone and stuff, and this guy was flying under the bridges and over the bridges and up around it. And what comes to my mind is where is the guy operating? How far away can you get from these things
Well,
and
I'll
still
tell you,
have control over them?
Here's the thing that I don't understand about that is you're legally supposed to have line of sight,
Right.
right? And if you don't have line of sight, then legally you have to have other people have this. But my drone that I have, which is enough, it's a hobby. I can operate 10 miles away.
Wow.
And it's like, if it's supposed to be line of sight, why do you make it so that I can
Yeah,
operate
and
it? So
these things
you
were-
can operate, and the signal apparently will. I mean, it's ridiculous. I
Because
don't
when we
understand.
were kind of
crazy.
transitioning to some of the early drones and stuff, it's like you had to have all the stuff that controlled the drone and whatever distance that was. But then you also had to have a transmitter of the video signal from the camera that you're shooting with
Yeah.
on the gimbal
Yep.
the same distance so that the operator
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it gets
type of thing, where
it's-
these new things, because this was banking and yanking, so
Yeah.
obviously it's a camera mounted on, kind of like a racing type of deal. The guys operate off the
virtual goggles.
the virtual
which
virtual
is a whole
goggles
nother
and
thing.
stuff, and it's like so as long as he can see what's going
Yeah.
on. But I mean, this thing came right down on the river, past
sure.
a boat, went under the bridge, came up on the other side, flies down the streets and stuff. I'm going, boy, and a lot of the stuff that you see. Because I don't know what the rules have changed. I haven't been into the drone stuff. In the
Yeah.
beginning, it was line of sight, like you said.
Yep.
Can't fly over people.
You can fly over people now if you have to have certain insurance in place.
So that's the thing is
that's
I'm
one.
seeing these things now flying over people.
Now, whether they're
concerts,
paying
all
it-
this stuff. I'm going,
Yeah.
really?
I was talking to some drone guys in Chicago about that, and I asked them, do you ever do the concerts and stuff? Because they have these big outdoor concerts in Chicago, and they said they were talking about it, but the amount of insurance they have to carry is so expensive that they would have to have multiple concerts to do to make it worthwhile.
Right.
Because it's a whole other thing. But one of the interesting things that's happened from my point of view as an operator is now these Inspire drones, especially. I can operate with the wheels, so I can actually come back to operating the camera on these shots as opposed to standing next to someone who's operating the camera and trying to tell them what we want. So that's actually changed things. But yeah, did you ever? You must have had close calls over the years.
A few, but
Yeah.
not too many. Quite
that's good.
honestly, yeah.
That's a testament to the people you're working with.
Yeah, that's mainly the thing. I learned. I mean, I've been in the biz now for 52 years, and I think I learned after about the first decade when people say, hey, we've got this helicopter pilot we want you to use, and he's done a lot of stuff and everything. And in the beginning, I would do that. Then I was finding out that these guys were not unsafe pilots, but they knew nothing about the movie industry. They might have been brought in to scout at the time, which is why productions goes, well, we know this guy, we just flew with him on scouting and stuff, and he says he's worked on movies. But you find out he's scouted on this movie, that movie and stuff, but they knew nothing about movie stuff, and in most cases never got it, never understood what we were trying to get.
Yeah.
So eventually I would tell producers and stuff, I go, I'm not going to do that unless I have my guys,
Yep.
whoever they are, because it's not fair to you. I can't, if I'm spending half of my time trying to train them how to fly for a shot,
Yeah.
I'm not getting it for you, and it's a waste of your time and money. But if I've got my guy there, maybe more expensive and stuff, but we'll get it right away. We're going to
Exactly.
get it on, take
Yeah.
one type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And that would usually get where they would go, oh, the light bulb would go off. It wasn't so much about I was being a hard ass and I wanted my friend on there,
Yeah.
or it was going to cost more. They would kind of went, oh,
Yeah.
it's going to cost us less in the long run, and we get better stuff. And
Yeah, I've done the same thing with assistants,
So-
where it's just like, look, if I bring this person, every take we do is going to be fine. But do you
Yeah.
really want to do this big shot and find out that whatever?
yeah, so there's
Yeah.
been
What-
that
I
aspect.
saw that
of
you
it.
worked
So-
on Extraction too.
Yeah, that was fun.
That must have been a complete trip.
We were supposed to have started it down in Australia, and
Yeah.
John Toll was going to be the DP on it.
Oh wow.
So I'm talking to him about what are we doing? Because I've known John since he was an operator, and we've done a few things together. And well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It'll be great to get you down here. Well, that was when COVID was on. And Australia's rules were, once you got there, you were quarantined for 2 weeks. So you'd be sitting in a hotel doing nothing for 2 weeks before they would say, okay, you can come out and interact with people and stuff. Fine. Production's still going ahead with it. All of a sudden I find out production says, nope, we're pulling out of Australia. And in the meantime, we've let John Toll go. I don't know whether John, I never have talked to him since then, of whether he said, that's it, I'm out or whatever and stuff. We got to find a new country. But we've got to be shooting by this date and stuff. I'm going, how in the world are they going to scout and find another country to work in and stuff? So, and my friend Fred North, who I fly with a lot now, had already been down there and stuff and had all kinds of things arranged, other aircraft, this train sequence, all, different things like that. He goes, they said they're going to do it. So we just sat back and waited, and they ended up, in Austria. They started off in the Czech Republic and stuff for the train sequence and stuff.
Did you do the train sequence?
I didn't do the train because the whole concept changed. Greg Baldy became the DP on the show because he had worked on a second unit with the producer on Gray Man, I think. They moved him up to say, you want to shoot this thing. He had a great chance to shoot it. He did an amazing job, too. Good for him. So he became the DP. The director, again, you'll have to look up his name. Yeah. Wanted to do one of those in one takes. It makes it look like it's one take. The take is like 27 minutes long when you look at it, type of thing. And I didn't know what they were doing until I saw the movie. And I had to call Greg up and I said, geez, I can't believe what you did here.
It's crazy.
And he said, yeah, it took us 4 months of night shoots or whatever to get out of the prison and onto the train. Anyway, he wanted to do it. So there was no way to come back and be doing a shot of it because of what they were going to do. So I was not involved in the train sequence.
I got you. So once they decided that kicks you out of that.
Kicked me out of that and stuff. And then, but then it came to the thing where the building that they get to where the helicopter lands on the top, and that's where they're actually trying to extract the people, and the one police ship comes in and they hit it with an RPG and it crashes. That was at the hotel we were actually staying at. It was great because we were staying in the same building they were. You just walk out in there. Our helipad was like 100 yards away, type of thing. Come out, have breakfast, go to helicopter. That's our own trailers and stuff. It was great. So that was in Austria where we did that, and because they were supposed to be, I think actually they were supposed to be in Austria because they escape up the Danube.
It's somewhere in Europe. It could be Austria.
I think they tried to actually get up the Danube, which was right there next
to
it.
So a movie like that just, I watched it, and first of all, it's like you can't breathe. It just never stops. But it seems unbelievably dangerous. Is it just extremely well planned out and run?
That's what they did with the, and again, I would see somebody were taking pictures, like Fred's ground control people were taking with their phones. Fred North, the pilot, who was flying, bringing in the guys onto the train, getting them off, and then peeling off and stuff. Because we would talk about what he was doing, but he
was flying that helicopter.
He was flying that
that's
helicopter.
In the scene.
And then they would send us video from his boys or outside shooting stuff. Like, here it is behind the thing. Look at this. And like in one of them, I think 6 guys are supposed to come out. 5 get out, and the last guy's just about to step off, and it's in the film, but you have to look close to see what happened, is that Fred's going by the count. If he sees number 1 over here, he knows everything's clear, and he goes. And Fred starts to go, and this guy barely gets off.
Oh, geez.
That type of thing. Well, if you know it from the way they shot it and stuff, you kind of see that. But somebody was shooting that from behind and stuff, and you really see that this guy just barely made it off. So stuff like that. Yeah. Now, they had put netting, catch fences, if you will, on the side of the train in case somebody went off. The director did a lot of the handheld stuff on that, apparently, and apparently he almost went off one time, former stunt guy. So, but things like that happen. Now, what we were doing in Vienna, there in Austria, was pretty straightforward because it now became, I'm shooting the other helicopter. I'm shooting the helicopter landing on the building. I'm shooting plates for the
You're not part
the building
of the action.
And stuff
you're
like that.
So,
the
action.
There's the scene where they're inside the building and they're in a corner building and stuff. That was a stage set. I had to shoot plates from outside, some of which is the gunship that comes in, and some of it is just out there. Well, we were hovering just outside the building. 20 seconds here, 20 seconds here. Then they brought the helicopter in. Okay, he would probably be about that distance from me if I were the building. 20 20 seconds of him, he moves out, whatever it happens to
Gotcha.
be. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of our stuff were a lot of plate shooting.
It's more conventional and
Yeah,
whatnot.
exactly. Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm assuming I know the answer to this, but I just have to ask. You worked on Howard the Duck.
Yep.
Were you on that for a bit?
Our second unit was, I want to say it was close to 6 weeks or something.
Did you read the script before you worked on it?
No.
Did you know what the movie was when you were
I don't
working
think
on
I
it?
did.
Okay.
I don't think I knew what Howard the Duck, what the premise was.
There's a couple movies like that I'm just completely fascinated by. So anytime I find out someone who worked on it.
Yeah. No, I was brought in, I think probably by, I'm trying to think of, no, that was the first time I met Ian Bryce. He was the UPM on it.
I think I know Ian Bryce. His name
But
sounds familiar.
anyway,
Yeah.
I was brought in to do the aerials. It was with Bobby Z was the pilot. It was a year after my friend that I had done the Blues Brothers with, Rick Hawley.
Yeah.
Rick had been killed the year prior.
Oh,
I had
geez.
been really
In a
goosed.
helicopter.
in a helicopter, yeah, doing Runaway Train.
Oh, jeez.
I was really spooked at that point. I didn't do any aerials for a year.
Yeah.
And so they wanted us to do this thing. And I'd been flying with Bobby prior to that and stuff. And he said, we'll take it really easy on this thing. Okay. So I came up to do the aerials.
Gotcha.
Working with the second unit, doing this, and chasing
way back
the ultralight type of thing. A
Yep.
bunch of stuff on that.
Ultralight.
And then, I guess after a couple of days, we were basically done.
Yeah.
But the lead operator on the second unit was Eric Engler, and he was going to leave to go do Color Purple. And they then said to me, well, you want to just stay with the second unit? No more aerials. You'll just be our operator.
Oh, okay.
So I went, okay. So I stayed with Kim Marks, who lived up in the area, as the second operator. And we more of that sequence and a bunch of other stuff that we did.
Sure.
And Bobby Burns was the DP on it and stuff. We had a blast. It was a lot of fun. But
That's great. Yeah.
But again, it was that second unit. It was
Yeah.
and but yeah, I had no idea what the movie was about or what it was supposed to be about or anything.
That's what I assumed because you're doing the areas and whatever. But I should have realized you did the ultralight sequence because of course that makes perfect sense. And what about Tenacious D?
One shot of a bridge and I think a car crossing the bridge.
Gotcha.
That's it. Yeah, I can
I
claim having worked on the movie, but I had it's like with Howard the Duck. After the movie came out, it's like, I should just see what in the world, how did they use the shot I did? What's the movie all about?
Yeah.
Then you see it, you kind of go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well.
And then the final one I probably want to ask you about is Blue Thunder because that must have been a lot of fun. I mean, that's all about a helicopter, right?
Same thing with this friend of mine, Mike Ferris.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a call from Mike, and he's just moved up to operator. I think it's the second operating show, but it's his first big show. John Alonso's the DP on the thing. Mike has now, because the prior one that he had done with John likes him.
Yeah.
We're going to do Blue Thunder. Mm-hmm. You be the A operator. That might have been when John Toll just moved up to operator and was moving on to other things.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Mike gives me a call. He goes, would you like to come on and be the B camera operator on this thing? Okay, fine. So basically I worked on the show, whatever it was, 2 or 3 months that we did on that thing as the B operator, having nothing to do with the aerial stuff. Because the aerial stuff was being done by Jim Gavin, was the pilot coordinator, and Frank Holgate was the DP on all the aerial stuff. But then as the show went on, they were doing a lot of stuff where they needed handheld stuff inside the different helicopters, but also being photographed at the same time. So John would send me off, and I would go and be the operator inside the ship for a lot of the handheld stuff that you see, POVs inside, that type of stuff, as maybe Frank was shooting the helicopter, but you couldn't see me inside, or I had the uniform on. You didn't know that I was on board type of stuff. But I was mainly the B operator for the whole show.
Wow. Yeah, that was some wild stuff.
But that was fun. I mean, it was really fun. I mean, John Badham, the director, was great to work
John
with.
Badham, yeah.
And
you know who John Badham's sister is? Mary Badham, who played Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember working with him, and he told me that they found her in a school playground and thought that she was interesting, and she wasn't an actress. And he said that Gregory Peck sort of took her under his wing and was friends of theirs for their whole. I mean, it was an amazing story. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, John Badham's great. He's a great guy.
He was great. Yeah, they had just finished War Games, so he would tell us all kinds of stuff with he and Fraker and things that they were doing on that. He goes, the 17 mil. He says, Fraker always wants to use the 17 mil and stuff like that. Well, of course, you had that set that they had.
Yeah, the big war room or whatever it's called.
The interesting thing on Blue Thunder is they decided to do it handheld. We were handheld for the whole damn show.
Oh, really?
And that was with Panaflex, 1,000-foot mag on the back, and anamorphic primes on the front, and stuff like that. Which that's the only way that you could balance this whole thing on.
Yeah.
And stuff, and that's probably what destroyed my back.
I remember doing that.
I still suffer from it.
It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Do you have a preference between, I want to say, conventional operating on set and helicopter operating?
I kind of love it all.
Love it all. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, on A Woman Under the Influence, of getting behind the gearhead, the old Worrell head and stuff, and I went, oh, I love this. And so I've loved working the wheels ever since. Fluid heads, fine. That handheld was, a new experience and stuff like that.
That's a tough one.
And again, it was like, it's handheld, but you're trying to hold your breath and be as smooth and unmoving as possible.
Don't make it look so handheld. It's like, well, let's do it a different way.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Any of the remote heads, I was like one of the first ones to ever really start using remote control for aerials.
When did that
Well,
start?
as I was with Continental Camera, and they were first developing the Astrovision system, which is the periscope that goes in the Learjet, which is how we did the stuff with David Copperfield. So periscope, one goes through the floor, one goes through the ceiling, so you can shoot
above and
either one, not at the same time. The whole camera system, everything rotated 360 degrees. So you had to have enough room to clear the camera and all that kind of stuff on both top and bottom. But in the very beginning, Bob, who had kind of devised this whole system, wanted it to be kind of like handheld. It's like, that's not going to work. You can't rotate yourself around this thing and try to look through the eyepiece and pan and tilt and all this kind of stuff. It needs to be remote. And I knew, having worked with this other system that was in the same hangar at Van Nuys Airport, a National Helicopter, was this thing called the International Camera System. Well, it was one of the very first West Cams.
Oh, okay.
It was a 4-foot diameter ball, not the 3-foot that they have now, which even that, they're gone and out of business.
The West Cam is that ball that sort of hangs off the front usually?
Yeah, it was off to the side at the time. The only way they could do that was... Exactly, yeah. We had the one that eventually became the KTLA and then eventually the KNBC news helicopter, the telecopter. Anyway, they had one there that was film. And I would tech it every once in a while and stuff, but watching how the operator did this stuff, it used a non-displacement, pressure-sensitive joystick that was made by Measurement Systems. And I went, that's what you guys need for this thing.
Yeah.
You need to have it where, in this particular joystick, it didn't go left or right, back or forth. It was the strain gauges on it. You could push it forward or back or left or right, and it would read how much stress you're putting on it, and then activate the motors at whatever speed it was that you were inducing into this thing. Because even up in the Learjet, you didn't want to be moving around. The Lear would bounce around sometimes because of turbulence and stuff. If this thing is fixed, you as an operator are putting less movement into it possibly.
Yeah.
So eventually they did. They built a console with a TV monitor built into it, the joystick, so you could control it. You could flip back and forth between top and bottom, and video taps and the whole bit and all that kind of stuff. So that was the beginning of working remote control for the aerials, was this first Astrovision system. The first one came out in '74. And then it was after that I started working with what became the gyrosphere that was handled by Howard Preston for a while. And that had basically the same kind of, it was thumb operated, but it was the same kind of inducer in it. Thing. It was a non-displacement joystick made by Measurement Systems, same company, but a different kind of joystick. Well, when I first started working with them, I transitioned right into it, having known what it's like to work with the Continental mount and your hands on the camera.
Yep.
Going immediately to something that was a TV monitor and a joystick and stuff, because I knew the world of aerial. I knew what needed to be done as you feel it in the helicopter, but I've been doing remote control with the Learjet.
So it made sense.
Just segued right into it.
And does anybody shoot at the side of a helicopter anymore? Is it all remote?
I think the last time I did it was for Pearl Harbor, and I needed it for a specific effect.
Okay. You miss it? It must have been a
No, we tried to do it in Jordan the DP on that, Danny Mendel, said, I want to do some stuff old school.
Old school.
We're going to bring in, a Tyler mount, which they found one in London. At that point, there were hardly any left around. They found one, and the tech came in with it, and I'd worked with him before, so no problem for him to set it up, but I really didn't want to do it. Really didn't want to get in the side of a helicopter and do the stuff. We were in Jordan doing the last Star Wars, I think it was. As it got to it, we never got around to it, thank goodness. But that was the last time there was an opportunity to do it, and no, I don't miss that at all.
I gotcha.
The stuff that now it's just so sophisticated with the shot over system is the one that's the conventional one now to use, and I've used that for the past 10 years, 12 years, whenever we started the company in 2012. So. In 12 years.
Is that your company?
I wasn't with Shot Over in the beginning because a lot of the input to that was like stuff that I said, this is what it has to do. Because the engineer is going, well, why in the world would you want to do that? It's like, been dealing with these engineer minds.
By the way, it's the same thing if it helps at all with the Steadicam.
Oh, bet.
We've gotten to the point, though, where the engineers will make something unbelievable, and then they'll give it to us, and they actually listen to us. Because, we just had this new thing coming out, and it was like, okay, there's a menu, and there's this, and there's that, and there's that. And I said, listen, here's the thing. While I'm going through the menu and the this and then that, the director is telling me two things. The DP wants me to look. I need something real quick. I can't. Okay. So they're starting to listen to it.
Well, it's the same thing on this. It came out where he had the one camera, which was the red, and one lens, which was the Ingenue. What was it at the time? The 24 to 280 or something like that. 12 to 1.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Why would you need anything but that? It's a zoom lens. You can do everything on the zoom lens. It's like, anyway, it took
You've never worked with DPs out in the field.
I have to have this kind of camera, this kind of camera. With this new age of digital coming in, it's like different film stocks. I don't know what this guy wants, but this guy wants this one. This one wants the red. This one wants eventually the Venice.
And not to mention that 6 months from now there will be something new that nobody even knows.
It's completely different, and it's a completely different size.
Exactly.
And so they eventually built the Shot Over K1 around the idea that no matter what camera or lens you threw at it, you could adapt to it.
That's
so
smart.
the adapter thing became this large case with bits and pieces and everything, but it works.
Other than
where they said, this is all you get, because isn't that all you need? No, type of thing. So
there'll be two people who use it, and that'll be it. That's incredible.
So it evolved through all of that, but it's an amazing system and stuff. You just turn it on and it goes.
It goes.
And it is just so stable, and things that we do to it with the some of the older systems and stuff, the Stab C or something like that, you're limited to how much the helicopter can bank, and like this thing, you just can't exceed it.
Yeah, wow.
So it's just works perfectly.
It's
and
incredible.
The smaller F1, they then put stronger motors in it and stronger gears in it. They went from aluminum gears to hardened steel gears, and we use that on jets for Top Gun Maverick.
Wow.
So, now all of a sudden, after all this time, I finally had a jet with a 10-to-1 lens if I wanted it, and the ability that it was completely stabilized and stuff. And, you could set it to keep the horizon level or not, and bank it or not, whatever you wanted to do, zoom all the way in or not. And it was the first time after all these years that I had something that I had actually wished for, but the technology was never there.
Yeah.
It took all those years for the technology to catch up.
That must be a great feeling to finally go, this is what I've always wanted, and it's now here. That's amazing, especially because you had a part of it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, this has been amazing. I actually learned a tremendous amount. I didn't know a lot about a lot of this, but I'll leave you with a question that, thank you for coming in. I'll leave you the question that I leave everybody, which is, you have any advice for people getting into the business now, just in general, or even what you wish you knew when you were getting in that you know now?
Boy, yeah, you would ask that. It was tough back then when I was getting in, because even up to this point, what I do is there's only a handful of people in the entire world that do it. So even back then when people ask, well, how did you get in? Here's the story. But I happened to be home when that phone call came. It was just fate, luck of the draw, whatever it was and stuff. And the fact that I worked with the company for, months for free. But I needed to learn. They needed to see what I was all about. That's part of it. The passion that you need to have for this means if you get any chance at all, jump in with both feet and show them what you got. And even if it means doing it for free, I know it's tough. It's like, how do you pay the bills then and stuff like that? But, luckily I was in a situation back then that I was living where my aunt was and stuff, type of thing. Okay, I can kind of afford to do that for a short period of time, but I got to get going somehow in a career. I think it's just the stick-to-itiveness, the desire to do it, the gumption to do it. It's just so tough. How do you get that first break? And I just, it's like with any of us, I don't know how to tell you that. But if you just get in there and bug people, and after a while they just go, just stop bugging me. Okay, I'll give you the chance.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.